Canto 24. Kausalya calmed. But when Kausalya saw that he resolved to keep his sire's decree, while tears and sobs her utterance broke, her very righteous speech she spoke. Can he, a stranger yet to pain, whose pleasant words all hearts enchain, son of the king and me the queen, live on the grain his hands may glean, can he, whose slaves and menials eat the finest cakes of sifted wheat, can Rama in the forest live on roots and fruit which woodlands give? Who will believe, who will not fear when the sad story smites his ear, that one so dear, so noble held, is by the king his sire expelled? Now surely none may fate resist, which orders all as it may list, if Rama, in thy strength and grace, the woods become thy dwelling place. A childless mother long I grieved, and many a sigh for offspring heaved, with wistful longing weak and worn till thou at last, my son, wast born. Fanned by the storm of that desire deep in my soul I felt the fire, whose offerings flowed from weeping eyes, with fuel fed of groans and sighs, while round the flame the smoke grew hot of tears, because thou camest not. Now reft of thee, too fiery fierce the flame of woe my heart will pierce, as, when the days of spring return, the sun's hot beams the forest burn. The mother cow still follows near the wanderings of her youngling deer. So close to thine my feet shall be, where thou goest following thee. Rama, the noblest lord of men, heard his fond mother's speech, and then in soothing words like these replied to the sad queen who wept and sighed. Nay, by Kaikeyí's art beguiled, when I am banished to the wild, if thou, my mother, also fly, the aged king will surely die. When wedded dames their lords forsake, long for the crime their souls shall ache. Thou must not e'en in thought within thy bosom frame so dire a sin. Long as Kakut's the son, who reigns lord of the earth in life remains, thou must with love his will obey. This duty claims, supreme for I. Yes, mother, thou and I must be submissive to my sire's decree. King, husband, sire is he confessed, the lord of all, the worthiest. I in the wilds my days will spend, till twice 7 years have reached an end, then with great joy will come again, and faithful to thy hests remain. Kausalya by her son addressed, with love and passion sore distressed afflicted, with her eyes bedewed, to Rama thus her speech renewed. Nay, Rama, but my heart will break if with these queens my home I make. Lead me too with thee, let me go and wander like a woodland roe. Then, while no tear the hero shed, thus to the weeping queen he said, Mother, while lives the husband, he is woman's lord and deity. O dearest lady, thou and I our lord and king must ne'er deny. The Lord of earth himself have we our guardian wise and friend to be. And Burrit, true to duty's call, whose sweet words take the hearts of all, will serve thee well, and ne'er forget the virtuous path before him set. Be this, I pray, thine earnest care that the old king my father ne'er, when I have parted hence, may know grieved for his son, a pang of woe. Let not this grief his soul distress, to kill him with the bitterness. With duteous care, in everything love, comfort, cheer the aged king. Though best of womankind, a spouse keeps firmly all her fasts and vows, nor yet her husband's will obeys. She treads in sin's forbidden ways. She to her husband's will who bends, goes to high bliss that never ends, yea, though the gods have found in her no reverential worshipper. Bent on his wheel, a woman still must seek to do her husband's will. For scripture, custom, law uphold this duty heaven revealed of old. Honor true Brahmins for my sake, and constant offerings duly make, with fire oblations and with flowers, to all the host of heavenly powers. Look to the coming time, and yearn for the glad hour of my return. And still thy duteous course pursue, abstemious, humble, kind, and true. The highest bliss shalt thou obtain when I from exile come again if, best of those who keep the right, the king my sire still see the light. The queen, by Rama thus addressed, still with a mother's grief oppressed, while her long eyes with tears were dim, began once more and answered him. Not by my pleading may be stayed the firm resolve thy soul has made. My hero, thou wilt go, and none the stern commands of fate may shun. Go forth, dear child whom naught can bend, and may all bliss thy steps attend. Thou wilt return, and that dear day will chase mine every grief away. Thou wilt return, thy duty done, thy vows discharged, high glory won, from filial debt wilt thou be free, and sweetest joy will come on me. My son, the will of mighty fate at every time must dominate, if now it drives thee hence to stray heedless of me who bid thee stay. Go, strong of arm, go forth, my boy, go forth, again to come with joy, and thine expectant mother cheer with those sweet tones she loves to hear. Oh, that the blessed hour were nigh, when thou shalt glad this anxious eye, with matted hair and hermit dress returning from the wilderness. Kausalya's conscious soul approved, as her proud glance she bent on Rama constant and unmoved, resolved on banishment. Such words, with happy omens fraught to her dear son, she said, invoking with each eager thought a blessing on his head. Canto 25. Kausalya's blessing. Her grief and woe she cast aside, her lips with water purified, and thus her benison began that mother of the noblest man. If thou wilt hear no words of mine, go forth, thou pride of Raghu's line. Go, darling, and return with speed, walking where noble spirits lead. May virtue on thy steps attend, and be her faithful lover's friend. May those to whom thy vows are paid in temple and in holy shade, with all the mighty saints combine to keep that precious life of thine. The arms wise Visvamitra, 292, gave thy virtuous soul from danger save. Long be thy life, thy sure defense shall be thy truthful innocence, and that obedience naught can tire to me thy mother and thy sire. May fanes where holy fires are fed, altars with grass and fuel spread, each sacrificial ground, each tree, rock, lake, and mountain, prosper thee. Let old Viraj, 293, and him who made the universe combine to aid. Let Indra and each guardian lord who keeps the worlds their help afford, and be thy constant friend the sun, Lord Pusha Bhaga Aryaman. 294. Fortnights and seasons, nights and days, years, months and hours, protect thy ways, Vrihaspati shall still be nigh, the war god and the moon on high, and Narad, 295, and the sainted seven, 296, shall watch thee from their starry heaven. The mountains, and the seas which ring the world, and VARU letter 1E47 the king, sky, ether, and the wind, whate'er moves not or moves, for thee shall care. Each lunar mansion be benign, with happier light the planets shine all gods, each light in heaven that glows, protect my child where'er he goes. The twilight hours, the day and night, keep in the wood thy steps aright. Watch minute, instant, as they flee, shall all bring happiness to thee. Celestials and the Titan brood, protect thee in thy solitude, and haunt the mighty wood to bless the wanderer in his hermit dress. Fear not, by mightier guardians screened, the giant or night-roving fiend, nor let the cruel race who tear man's flesh for food thy bosom scare. Far be the ape, the scorpion's sting, fly, gnat, and worm, and creeping thing. Thee shall the hungry lion spare, the tiger, elephant, and bear, safe from their furious might repose, safe from the horned buffaloes. Each savage thing the forests breed, that love on human flesh to feed, shall for my child its rage abate, when thus its wrath I deprecate. Blessed be thy ways, may sweet success the valor of my darling bless. To all that fortune can bestow, go forth, my child, my Rama, go. Go forth, O happy in the love of all the gods below, above, and in those guardian powers confide thy paths who keep, thy steps who guide. May Sakra, 297, Yama, sun, and moon, and he who gives each golden boon, 298, won by mine earnest prayers, be good to thee, my son, in D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D a K wood. Fire, wind, and smoke, each text and spell from mouths of holy seers that fell, guard Rama when his limbs he dips, or with the stream makes pure his lips. May the great saints and he, the Lord who made the worlds, by worlds adored, and every god in heaven beside my banished Rama keep and guide. Thus with due praise the long-eyed dame, ennobled by her spotless fame, with wreaths of flowers and precious scent worship the gods, most reverent. A high-souled Brahmin lit the fire, and offered, at the queen's desire, the holy oil ordained to burn for Rama's weal and safe return. Kausalya best of dames, with care set oil, wreaths, fuel mustered there. Then when the rites of fire had ceased, for Rama's bliss and health, the priest, standing without gave what remained in general offering, 299 as ordained. Dealing among the twice-horn train honey, and curds, and oil, and grain, he bade each heart and voice unite to bless the youthful anchorite. Then Rama's mother, glorious dame bestowed, to meet the Brahmin's claim, a lordly fee for duty done, and thus again addressed her son. Such blessings as the gods orgied poured forth, when Vritra 300 was destroyed, on Indra of the 1,000 eyes, attend, my child, thine enterprise. Yea, such as Vinata once gave to King Sup, a R letter 1E47, a 301, swift and brave, who sought the drink that cheers the skies attend, my child, thine enterprise. Yea, such as, when the Amrit rose, 302, and Indra slew his Daitya foes, the royal Aditi bestowed on him, whose hand with slaughter glowed of that dire brood of monstrous size. Attend, my child, thine enterprise. E'en such as peerless Vish letter 1E47 you graced, when with his triple step he paced, outbursting from the dwarf's disguise, 303 attend, my child, thine enterprise. Floods, isles, and seasons as they fly, worlds, Vedas, quarters of the sky, combine, O mighty armed, to bless thee destined heir of happiness. The long-eyed lady ceased, she shed pure scent and grain upon his head. And that prized herb whose sovereign power preserves from dark misfortune's hour, upon the hero's arm she set, to be his faithful amulet. While holy texts she murmured low, and spoke glad words though crushed by woe, concealing with obedient tongue the pangs with which her heart was wrung. She bent, she kissed his brow, she pressed her darling to her troubled breast. Firm in thy purpose, go, she cried, go Rama, and may bliss betide. Attain returning safe and well, triumphant in Ayodhyá dwell. Then shall my happy eyes behold the empire, by thy will controlled. Then grief and care shall leave no trace, joy shall light up thy mother's face, and I shall see my darling reign in moonlike glory come again. These eyes shall fondly gaze on thee so faithful to thy sire's decree, when thou the forest wild shalt quit on thine ancestral throne to sit. Yea, thou shalt turn from exile back, nor choicest blessings ever lack, then fill with rapture ever new my bosom and thy consort, S2. To Siva and the heavenly host my worship has been paid, to mighty saint, to godlike ghost, to every wandering shade. Forth to the forest thou wilt hie, therein to dwell so long, let all the quarters of the sky protect my child from wrong. Her blessings thus the queen bestowed, then round him fondly paced, and often, while her eyes o'erflowed, her dearest son embraced. Kausalya's honored feet he pressed, as round her steps she bent, and radiant with her prayers that blessed, to Sita's home he went. Canto 26. Alone with Sítá. So Rama, to his purpose true to Queen Kausalya bade, adieu received the benison she gave, and to the path of duty clave. As through the crowded street he passed, a radiance on the way he cast, and each fair grace by all approved, the bosoms of the people moved. Now of the woeful change, no word the fair Vidhin bride had heard. The thought of that imperial right still filled her bosom with delight. With grateful heart and joyful thought the gods in worship she had sought, and, well in royal duties learned, sat longing till her lord returned, not all unmarked by grief and shame within his sumptuous home he came, and hurried through the happy crowd with eye dejected, gloomy browed. Up Sítá sprang, and every limb trembled with fear at sight of him. She marked that cheek where anguish fed, those senses care disquieted. For, when he looked on her, no more could his heart hide the load it bore, nor could the pious chief control the paleness o'er his cheek that stole. His altered cheer, his brow bedewed with clammy drops, his grief she viewed, and cried, consumed with fires of woe, what, O my lord, has changed thee so? Vrihaspati looks down benign, and the moon rests in Pushya's sign, as Brahmins sage this day declare. Then whence, my lord, this grief and care? Why does no canopy, like foam for its white beauty, shade thee home, its 100 ribs spread wide to throw splendor on thy fair head below? Where are the royal fans, to grace the lotus beauty of thy face, fair as the moon or wild swan's wing, and waving round the new-made king? Why do no sweet-toned bards rejoice to hail thee with triumphant voice? No tuneful heralds love to raise loud music in their monarch's praise? Why do no Brahmins, scripture read, pour curds and honey on thy head anointed, as the laws ordain, with holy rites supreme to reign? Where are the chiefs of every guild? Where are the myriads should have filled the streets, and followed home their king with merry noise and triumphing? Why does no gold-wrought chariot lead with 4 brave horses, best for speed? No elephant precede the crowd like a huge hill or thunder cloud, marked from his birth for happy fate, whom signs auspicious decorate? Why does no henchman, young and fair, precede thee, and delight to bear entrusted to his reverent hold the burthen of thy throne of gold. Why, if the consecrating rite be ready, why this mournful plight? Why do I see this sudden change, this altered mien so sad and strange? To her, as thus she weeping cried, Raghu's illustrious son replied, Sítá, my honored sire's decree commands me to the woods to flee. O high-born lady, nobly bred in the good paths thy footsteps tread, here, Janak's daughter, while I tell the story as it all befell. Of old my father true and brave 2 boons to Queen Kaikeyí gave. Through these the preparations made for me today by her are stayed, for he is bound to disallow this promise, by that earlier vow. In D, a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a K forest wild and vast, must 14 years by me be passed. My fathers will makes Burrit heir, the kingdom and the throne to share. Now, ere the lonely wild I seek, I come once more with thee to speak. In Burrit's presence, O my dame, ne'er speak with pride of Rama's name. Another's eulogy to hear is hateful to a monarch's ear. Thou must with love his rule obey, to whom my father yields the sway. With love and sweet observance learn his grace, and more the king's to earn. Now that my father may not break the words of promise that he spake, to the drear wood my steps are bent. Be firm, good Sítá, and content. Through all that time, my blameless spouse, keep well thy fasts and holy vows. Rise from thy bed at break of day, and to the gods due worship pay. With meek and lowly love revere the Lord of men, my father dear, and reverence to Kausalya show, my mother, worn with eld and woe. By duty's law, O best of dames, high worship from thy love she claims, nor to the other queens refuse observance, rendering each her dues. By love and fond attention shown they are my mothers like mine own. Let Burrit and Satrugna bear in thy sweet love a special share dear as my life. O let them be like brother and like son to thee. In every word and deed refrain from aught that Burrit's soul may pain. He is Ayodhya's king and mine, the head and lord of all our line. For those who serve and love them much with weariless endeavor, touch and win the gracious hearts of kings. While wrath from disobedience springs, great monarchs from their presence send their lawful sons who still offend, and welcome to the vacant place good children of an alien race. Then, best of women, rest thou here, and Burrits will with love revere. Obedient to thy king remain, and still thy vows of truth maintain. To the wide wood my steps I bend. Make thou thy dwelling here see that thy conduct ne'er offend, and keep my words, my dear. Canto 27. Sítá's speech. His sweetly speaking bride, who best deserved her lord, he thus addressed. Then tender love bade passion wake, and thus the fair Vidhan spake. What words are these that thou hast said? Contempt of me the thought has bred. O best of heroes, I dismiss with bitter scorn a speech like this. Unworthy of a warrior's fame, it taints a monarch's son with shame, ne'er to be heard from those who know the science of the sword and bow. My lord, the mother, sire, and son receive their lots by merit won. The brother and the daughter find the portions to their deeds assigned. The wife alone, whate'er await, must share on earth her husband's fate. So now the king's command which sends thee to the wild, to me extends. The wife can find no refuge, none, in father, mother, self, or son, both here, and when they vanish hence, her husband is her sole defense. If, Raghu's son, thy steps are led where D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D, a K.S. pathless wilds are spread, my foot before thine own shall pass through tangled thorn and matted grass. Dismiss thine anger and thy doubt, like refuse water cast them out, and lead me, O my hero, hence, I know not sin, with confidence. Whate'er his lot, 'tis far more sweet to follow still a husband's feet than in rich palaces to lie, or roam at pleasure through the sky. My mother and my sire have taught what duty bids, and trained each thought, nor have I now mine ear to turn the duties of a wife to learn. I'll seek with thee the woodland dell and pathless wild where no men dwell, where tribes of sylvan creatures roam, and many a tiger makes his home. My life shall pass as pleasant there as in my father's palace fair. The world shall wake no care in me, my only care be truth to thee. There while thy wish I still obey true to my vows with thee I'll stray, and there shall blissful hours be spent in woods with honey redolent. In forest shades thy mighty arm would keep a stranger's life from harm, and how shall Sítá think of fear when thou, O glorious Lord, art near. Heir of high bliss, my choice is made, nor can I from my will be stayed. Doubt not, the earth will yield me roots, these will I eat, and woodland fruits, and as with the eye wander there I will not bring thee grief or care. I long when thou, wise Lord, art nigh all fearless, with delighted eye to gaze upon the rocky hill, the lake, the fountain, and the rill, to sport with thee, my limbs to cool, in some pure lily-covered pool, while the white swans and mallards' wings are plashing in the water springs. So would 1,000 seasons flee like one sweet day, if spent with thee. Without my Lord, I would not prize a home with gods above the skies. Without my Lord, my life to bless, where could be heaven or happiness? Forbid me not, with thee I go the tangled wood to tread. There will I live with thee, as though this roof were o'er my head. My will for thine shall be resigned, thy feet my steps shall guide. Thou, only thou, art in my mind, I heed not all beside. Thy heart shall ne'er by me be grieved, do not my prayer deny, take me, dear Lord, of thee bereaved thy Sítá swears to die. These words the duteous lady spake, nor would he yet consent his faithful wife with him to take to share his banishment. He soothed her with his gentle speech, to change her will he strove, and much he said the woes to teach of those in wilds who rove. Canto 28. The dangers of the wood. Thus Sítá spake, and he who knew his duty to its orders true, was still reluctant as the woes of forest life before him rose. He sought to soothe her grief, to dry the torrent from each brimming eye, and then, her firm resolve to shake, these words the pious hero spake. O daughter of a noble line, whose steps from virtue ne'er decline, remain, thy duties here pursue, as my fond heart would have thee do. Now hear me, Sítá, fair and weak, and do the words that I shall speak. Attend and hear while I explain each danger in the wood, each pain. Thy lips have spoken, I condemn the foolish words that fell from them. This senseless plan, this wish of thine to live a forest life, resign. The names of trouble and distress suit well the tangled wilderness. In the wild wood no joy I know, a forest life is naught but woe. The lion in his mountain cave answers the torrents as they rave, and forth his voice of terror throws. The wood, my love, is full of woes. Their mighty monsters fearless play, and in their maddened onset slay the hapless wretch who near them goes. The wood, my love, is full of woes. 'Tis hard to ford each treacherous flood, so thick with crocodiles and mud, where the wild elephants repose. The wood, my love, is full of woes. Or far from streams the wanderer strays through thorns and creeper-tangled ways, while round him many a wildcock crows. The wood, my love, is full of woes. On the cold ground upon a heap of gathered leaves condemned to sleep, toil-wearied, will his eyelids close. The wood, my love, is full of woes. Long days and nights must he content his soul with scanty aliment. What fruit the wind from branches blows, the wood, my love, is full of woes. O Sítá, while his strength may last, the ascetic in the wood must fast, coil on his head his matted hair, and bark must be his only wear. To gods and spirits, day by day the ordered worship he must pay, and honor with respectful care each wandering guest who meets him there. The bathing rites he ne'er must shun at dawn, at noon, at set of sun, obedient to the law he knows. The wood, my love, is full of woes. To grace the altar must be brought the gift of flowers his hands have sought, the debt each pious hermit owes. The wood, my love, is full of woes. The devotee must be content to live, severely abstinent, on what the chance of fortune shows. The wood, my love, is full of woes. Hunger afflicts him evermore. The nights are black, the wild winds roar, and there are dangers worse than those. The wood, my love, is full of woes. Their creeping things in every form infest the earth. The serpents swarm, and each proud eye with fury glows. The wood, my love, is full of woes. The snakes that by the rives hide in sinuous course like rivers glide, and line the path with deadly foes. The wood, my love, is full of woes. Scorpions and grasshoppers and flies disturb the wanderer as he lies, and wake him from his troubled doze. The wood, my love, is full of woes. Trees, thorny bushes, intertwined, their branched ends together bind, and dense with grass the thicket grows. The wood, my dear, is full of woes, with many ills the flesh is tried. When these and countless fears beside vex those who in the wood remain, the wilds are naught but grief and pain. Hope, anger must be cast aside, to penance every thought applied. No fear must be of things to fear, hence is the wood for ever drear. Enough, my love, thy purpose quit, for forest life thou art not fit. As thus I think on all, I see the wild wood is no place for thee. Canto 29. Sita's appeal. Thus Rama spake. Her lords addressed the lady heard with deep distress, and as the tear bedimmed her eye in soft low accents made reply. The perils of the wood, and all the woes thou countest to appall, led by my love I deem not pain, each woe a charm, each loss a gain. Tiger and elephant and deer, bull, lion, buffalo in fear, soon as thy matchless form they see, with every sylvan beast will flee. With thee, O Rama, I must go, my sire's command ordains it so. Bereft of thee, my lonely heart must break, and life and I must part. While thou, O mighty Lord, art nigh not even he who rules the sky, though he is strongest of the strong, with all his might can do me wrong. Nor can a lonely woman, left by her dear husband, live bereft. In my great love, my lord, I ween, the truth of this thou mayst have seen. In my sire's palace long ago I heard the chief of those who know, the truth-declaring Brahmins, tell my fortune, in the wood to dwell. I heard their promise, who divine the future by each mark and sign, and from that hour have longed to lead the forest life their lips decreed. Now, mighty Rama, I must share thy father's doom which sends thee there. In this I will not be denied, but follow, love, where thou shalt guide. O husband, I will go with thee, obedient to that high decree. Now let the Brahmin's words be true, for this the time they had in view. I know full well the wood has woes, but they disturb the lives of those who in the forest dwell, nor hold their rebel senses well controlled. In my sire's halls, ere I was wed, I heard a dame who begged her bread before my mother's face relate what griefs of forest life await. And many a time in sport I prayed to seek with thee the greenwood shade, for oh, my heart on this is set, to follow thee, dear anchoret. May blessings on thy life attend. I long with thee my steps to bend, for with such hero as thou art, this pilgrimage enchants my heart. Still close, my lord, to thy dear side my spirit will be purified. Love from all sin my soul will free, my husband is a god to me. So love, with thee shall I have bliss, and share the life that follows this. I heard a Brahmin, dear to fame, this ancient scripture text proclaim. The woman whom on earth below her parents on a man bestow, and lawfully their hands unite with water and each holy rite, she in this world shall be his wife, his also in the afterlife. Then tell me, O beloved, why thou wilt this earnest prayer deny, nor take me with thee to the wood, thine own dear wife so true and good. But if thou wilt not take me there thus grieving in my wild despair, to fire or water I will fly, or to the poisoned draught, and die. So thus to share his exile, she besought him with each earnest plea, nor could she yet her lord persuade to take her to the lonely shade. The answer of the strong-armed chief smote the Vidhan's soul with grief, and from her eyes the torrents came bathing the bosom of the dame. Canto 30. The triumph of love. The daughter of Vidha's king, while Rama strove to soothe the sting of her deep anguish, thus began once more in furtherance of her plan, and with her spirit sorely tried by fear and anger, love and pride, with keenly taunting words addressed her hero of the stately breast. Why did the king my sire, who reigns o'er fair Vidha's wide domains, hail Rama son with joy unwise, a woman in a man's disguise? Now falsely would the people say, by idle fancies led astray, that Rama's own are power and might, as glorious as the Lord of light. Why sinkest thou in such dismay? What fears upon thy spirit weigh, that thou, O Rama, fain wouldst flee from her who thinks of naught but thee? To thy dear will am I resigned in heart and body, soul and mind, as Savitri gave all to one, Satyavan, Dumatsina's son. 304. Not e'en in fancy can I brook to any guard save thee to look. Let meaner wives their houses shame, to go with thee is all my claim. Like some low actor, deem'st thou fit thy wife to others to commit, thine own, espoused in maiden youth thy wife so long, unblamed for truth. Do thou, my lord, his will obey for whom thou losest royal sway, to whom thou wouldst thy wife confide. Not me, but thee his wish may guide. Thou must not here thy wife forsake, and to the wood thy journey make, whether stern penance, grief and care, or rule or heaven await thee there. nor shall fatigue my limbs distress, when wandering in the wilderness, each path, which near to the eye tread, shall seem a soft, luxurious bed. The reeds, the bushes where I pass, the thorny trees, the tangled grass shall feel, if only thou be near, soft to my touch as skins of deer. When the rude wind in fury blows, and scattered dust upon me throws, that dust, beloved Lord, to me shall as the precious sandal be. And what shall be more blessed than I, when gazing on the wood I lie in some green glade upon a bed, with sacred grass beneath us spread. The root, the leaf, the fruit which thou shalt give me from the earth or bough, scanty or plentiful to eat, shall taste to me as amrit sweet. As there I live on flowers and roots and every season's kindly fruits, I will not for my mother grieve, my sire, my home, or all I leave. My presence, love, shall never add one pain to make the heart more sad. I will not cause thee grief or care, nor be a burden hard to bear. With thee is heaven, where'er the spot, each place is hell where thou art not. Then go with me, O Rama, this is all my hope and all my bliss. If thou wilt leave thy wife, who still entreats thee with undaunted will, this very day shall poison close the life that spurns the rule of foes. How after can my soul sustain the bitter life of endless pain, when thy dear face, my lord, I miss? No, death is better far than this. Not for an hour could I endure the deadly grief that knows not cure, far less a woe I could not shun for 10 long years, and 3 and 1. While fires of woe consumed her, such her sad appeal, lamenting much, then with a wild cry, anguish-wrung about her husband's neck she clung. Like some she-elephant who bleeds struck by the hunter's venomed reeds, so in her quivering heart she felt the many wounds his speeches dealt. Then, as the spark from wood is gained, 305 down rolled the tear so long restrained. The crystal moisture, sprung from woe, from her sweet eyes began to flow, as runs the water from a pair of lotuses divinely fair. And Sítá's face, with long dark eyes, pure as the moon of autumn skies, faded with weeping, as the buds of lotuses when sink the floods. Around his wife his arms he strained, who senseless from her woe remained, and with sweet words that bade her wake to life again, the hero spake. I would not with thy woe, my queen, buy heaven and all its blissful sheen. Void of all fear am I as he, the self-existent God, can be. I knew not all thy heart till now, dear lady of the lovely brow, so wished not thee in woods to dwell, yet there mine arm can guard thee well. Now surely thou, dear love, wast made to dwell with me in green wood shade. And, as a high saint's tender mind clings to its love for all mankind, so I to thee will ever cling, sweet daughter of Vidha's king. The good of old, O soft of frame, honored this duty's sovereign claim, and I its guidance will not shun, true as light's queen is to the sun. I cannot, pride of Janak's line, this journey to the wood decline, my sire's behest, the oath he sware, the claims of truth all lead me there. One duty, dear the same for I, is sire and mother to obey. Should I their orders once transgress, my very life were weariness. If glad obedience be denied to father, mother, holy guide, what rights, what service can be done that stern fate's favor may be won? These 3 the triple world comprise, O darling of the lovely eyes. Earth has no holy thing like these whom, with all love men seek to please. Not truth or gift or bended knee, not honor, worship, lordly fee, storms heaven and wins a blessing thence like sunly love and reverence. Heaven, riches, grain, and varied lore, with sons and many a blessing more. All these are made their own with ease by those their elders' souls who please. The mighty-souled, who ne'er forget, devoted sons, their filial debt, win worlds where gods and minstrels are, and Brahma's sphere more glorious far. Now as the orders of my sire, who keeps the way of truth, require, so will I do, for such the way of duty that endures for I, to take thee, love, to D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D. A KS wild my heart at length is reconciled, for thee such earnest thoughts impel to follow, and with me to dwell. O faultless form from feet to brows, come with me, as my will allows, and duty there with me pursue, trembler, whose bright eyes thrill me through. In all thy days, come good, come ill, preserve unchanged such noble will, and thou, dear love, wilt ever be the glory of thy house and me. Now, beauteous armed, begin the tasks the woodland life of hermits asks. For me the joys of heaven above have charms no more without thee, love. And now, dear Sítá, be not slow, food on good mendicants bestow, and for the holy Brahmins bring thy treasures and each precious thing. Thy best attire and gems collect, the jewels which thy beauty decked, and every ornament and toy prepared for hours of sport and joy. The beds, the cars wherein I ride, among our followers next divide. She, conscious that her lord approved her going, with great rapture moved, hastened within without delay, prepared to give their wealth away. Canto 31. Lakshman's Prayer. When Lakshman, a letter 1E47, who had joined them there, had heard the converse of the pair, his mien was changed, his eyes o'erflowed, his breast no more could bear its load. The son of Raghu, sore distressed, his brother's feet with fervor pressed, while thus to Sítá he complained, and him by lofty vows enchained. If thou wilt make the woods thy home, where elephant and roebuck roam, I too this day will take my bow, and in the path before thee go. Our way will lie through forest ground, where countless birds and beasts are found. I heed not homes of gods on high, I heed not life that cannot die, nor would I wish, with thee away, o'er the three worlds to stretch my sway. Thus Lakshman, a letter 1E47 spake, with earnest prayer his brother's woodland life to share. As Rama still his prayer denied with soothing words, again he cried, When leave at first thou didst accord, why dost thou stay me now, my lord? Thou art my refuge, oh be kind, leave me not, dear my lord, behind. Thou canst not, brother, if thou choose that I still live, my wish refuse. The glorious chief his speech renewed to faithful Lakshman, a letter 1E47 as he sued, and on the eyes of Rama gazed longing to lead, with hands upraised. Thou art a hero just and dear, whose steps to virtue's path adhere, loved as my life till life shall end, my faithful brother and my friend. If to the woods thou take thy way with Sítá and with me today, who for Kausaliya will provide, and guard the good Sumitra's side? The Lord of earth, of mighty power, who sends good things in plenteous shower, as Indra pours the grateful rain, a captive lies in passion's chain. The power imperial for her son has as Vipati's daughter, 306:1, and she, proud queen, will little heed her miserable rival's need. So Bharat, ruler of the land, by Queen Kaikeyí's side will stand, nor of those two will ever think, while grieving in despair they sink. Now Lakshman, a letter 1E47, as thy love decrees, or else the monarch's heart to please, follow this counsel and protect my honored mother from neglect. So thou, while not to me alone thy great affection, will be shown to highest duty wilt adhere, by serving those thou shouldst revere. Now, son of Raghu, for my sake obey this one request I make, or, of her darling son bereft, Kausaliya has no comfort left. The faithful Lakshman, a letter 1E47, thus addressed in gentle words which love expressed, to him in lore of language learned. His answer, eloquent, returned. Nay, through thy might each queen will share attentive Bharat's love and care. Should Bharat, raised as king to sway this noblest realm, his trust betray, nor for their safety well provide, seduced by ill-suggesting pride, doubt not my vengeful hand shall kill the cruel wretch who counsels ill. Kill him and all who lend him aid, and the three worlds in league arrayed. And good Kausaliya well can fee 1,000 champions like to me. 1,000 hamlets rich in grain, the station of that queen maintain. She may, and my dear mother too, live on the ample revenue. Then let me follow thee, herein is naught that may resemble sin. So shall I in my wish succeed, and aid, perhaps, my brother's need. My bow and quiver well supplied with arrows hanging at my side, my hands shall spade and basket bear, and for thy feet the way prepare. I'll bring thee roots and berries sweet, and woodland fare which hermits eat. Thou shalt with thy Vidhin spouse recline upon the mountain's brows. Be mine the toil, be mine to keep watch o'er thee waking or asleep. Filled by his speech with joy and pride, Rama to Lakshman, a letter 1E47 thus replied. Go then, my brother, bid adieu to all thy friends and retinue. And those two bows of fearful might, celestial, which at that famed rite, Lord Varu letter 1E47 gave to Janak. King of fair Vedha with thee bring, with heavenly coats of sword-proof mail, quivers, whose arrows never fail, and golden-hilted swords so keen, the rivals of the sun in sheen. Tended with care, These arms are all preserved in my preceptor's hall. With speed, OLAKSHM, a letter 1E47, go, produce, and bring them hither for our use. So, on a woodland life intent, to see his faithful friends he went, and brought the heavenly arms which lay by Rama's teacher stored away. And Raghu's son to Rama showed those wondrous arms which gleamed and glowed, well kept, adorned with many a wreath of flowers on case, and hilt, and sheath. The prudent Rama at the sight addressed his brother with delight. Well art thou come, my brother dear, for much I long to see thee here. For with thine aid, before I go, I would my gold and wealth bestow upon the Brahmins sage, who school their lives by stern devotion's rule. And for all those who ever dwell within my house, and serve me well devoted servants, true and good, will I provide a livelihood. Quick, go and summon to this place the good V.A.S. acute, ISH letter 1E60, H.A.S. son Sayajna, of the Brahmin race the first and holiest one. To all the Brahmins wise and good will I due reverence pay, then to the solitary wood with thee will take my way. Canto 32. The gift of the treasures. That speech so noble which conveyed his friendly wish, the chief obeyed, with steps made swift by anxious, thought the wise Sayajna's home he sought. Him in the hall of fire, 307, he found and bent before him to the ground. O friend, to Rama's house return, who now performs a task most stern. He, when his noonday rites were done, went forth with fair Sumitra's son, and came to Rama's bright abode rich in the love which Lakshmi showed. The son of Raghu, with his dame, with joined hands met him as he came, showing to him who scripture knew the worship that is Agni's due. With armlets, bracelets, collars, rings, with costly pearls on golden strings, with many a gem for neck and limb the son of Raghu honored him. Then Rama, at his wife's request, the wise Sayajna thus addressed, accept a necklace too to deck with golden strings thy spouse's neck. And Sítá here, my friend, were glad a girdle to her gift to add. And many a bracelet wrought with care, and many an armlet rich and rare, my wife to thine is fain to give departing in the wood to live. A bed by skillful workmen made, with gold and various gems inlaid. This too, before she goes, would she present, O saintly friend, to thee. Thine be my elephant, so famed, my uncle's present, Victor named, and let 1,000 coins of gold, great Brahmin, with the gift be told. Thus Rama spoke, nor he declined the noble gifts for him designed. On Rama, LKSHM, a letter 1E47, Sítá he invoked all high felicity. In pleasant words, then Rama gave his best to LKSHM, a letter 1E47 prompt and brave, as Brahma speaks for him to hear who rules the gods, celestial sphere. To the two best of Brahmins run Agastya bring, and Cusick's son, and precious gifts upon them rain, like fostering floods upon the grain. O long-armed prince of Raghu's line, delight them with 1,000 kine, and many a fair and costly gem, with gold and silver, give to them. To him, so deep in scripture, who to Queen Kausalya, ever true, serves her with blessing and respect, chief of the Treacherous sect, 308. To him, with women slaves, present a chariot rich with ornament, and costly robes of silk beside, until the sage be satisfied. On Chitraratha, true and dear, my tuneful bard and charioteer gems, robes, and plenteous wealth confer, mine ancient friend and minister. And these who go with staff in hand, grammarians trained, a numerous band, who their deep study only prize, nor think of other exercise, who toil not, loving dainty fare, whose praises in the good declare, on these be 80 cars bestowed, and each with precious treasures load. 1,000 bulls for them suffice, 200 elephants of price, and let 1,000 kine, beside the dainties of each meal provide. The throng who sacred girdles wear, and on Kausalya wait with care, 1,000 golden coins shall please, son of Sumitra, each of these. Let all, dear LKSHM, a letter 1E47 of the train, these special gifts of honor gain. My mother will rejoice to know her Brahmins have been cherished so. Then Raghu's son addressed the crowd who round him stood and wept aloud, when he to all who thronged the court had dealt his wealth for their support. In LKSHM, a letter 1E47's house and mine remain, and guard them till I come again. To all his people sad with grief, in loving words thus spoke their chief, then bade his treasure keeper bring gold, silver, and each precious thing. Then straight the servants went, and bore back to their chief the wealth in store. Before the people's eyes it shone, a glorious pile to look upon. The Prince of Men with Lakshman, a letter 1E47 aid, parted the treasures there displayed, gave to the poor, the young, the old, and twice-born men, the gems and gold. A Brahmin, long in evil case, named Trij, a letter 1E60, born of Garga's race, earned ever toiling in a wood with spade and plough his livelihood. The youthful wife, his babes who bore, their indigence felt more and more. Thus to the aged man she spake, hear this my word, my counsel take. Come, throw thy spade and plough away, to virtuous Rama go today, and somewhat of his kindness pray. He heard the words she spoke. Around his limbs his ragged cloth he wound, and took his journey by the road that led to Rama's fair abode. To the 5th court he made his way, nor met the Brahmin check or stay. Brighu and Giras, 309, could not be brighter with saintly light than he. To Rama's presence on he pressed, and thus the noble chief addressed, O Rama, poor and weak am I, and many children round me cry. Scant living in the woods I earn, on me thine eye of pity turn. And Rama, bent on sport and jest, the suppliant Brahmin thus addressed, O aged man, 1,000 kine, yet undistributed, are mine. The cows on thee will I bestow as far as thou thy staff canst throw. The Brahmin heard. In eager haste, he bound his cloth around his waist. Then round his head his staff he whirled, and forth with mightiest effort hurled. Cast from his hand it flew, and sank to earth on Sarju's farther bank, where herds of kine in thousands fed near to the well-stocked bullock shed. And all the cows that wandered o'er the meadow, far as Sarju's shore, at Rama's word the herdsmen drove to Trij, a letter 1E60's cottage in the grove. He drew the Brahmin to his breast, and thus with calming words addressed, Now be not angry, sire. I pray, this jest of mine was meant in play. These 1,000 kine, but not alone. Their herdsmen too, are all thine own. And wealth beside I give thee, speak, thine shall be all thy heart can seek. Thus Rama spake. And Trij, a letter 1E60, prayed for means his sacrifice to aid. And Rama gave much wealth, required to speed his offering as desired. Canto 33. The people's lament. Thus Sítá and the princes brave much wealth to all the Brahmins gave. Then to the monarch's house the 3 went forth the aged king to see. The princes from 2 servants took those heavenly arms of glorious look, adorned with garland, and with band by Sítá's beautifying hand. On each high house a mournful throng had gathered ere they passed along, who gazed in pure unselfish woe from turret, roof, and portico. So dense the crowd that blocked the ways, the rest, unable there to gaze, were fain each terrace to ascend, and thence their eyes on Rama bend. Then as the gathered multitude on foot their well-loved Rama viewed, no royal shade to screen his head, such words, disturbed in grief, they said. Oh look, our hero, want to ride leading a host in perfect pride. Now Lakshman, a letter 1E47, soul of all his friends, with Sítá on his steps attends. Though he has known the sweets of power, and poured his gifts in liberal shower, from duty's path he will not swerve, but still his father's truth preserve. And she whose form so soft and fair was veiled from spirits of the air, now walks unsheltered from the day, seen by the crowds who throng the way. Ah, for that gently nurtured form! How will it fade with sun and storm? How will the rain, the cold, the heat mar fragrant breast and tinted feet? Surely some demon has possessed his sire, and speaks within his breast. Or how could one that is a king thus send his dear son wandering? It were a deed unkindly done to banish a worthless son. But what, when his pure life has gained the hearts of all, by love enchained? 6 sovereign virtues join to grace Rama, the foremost of his race, tender and kind and pure is he, docile, religious, passion-free. Hence misery strikes not him alone. In bitterest grief the people moan, like creatures of the stream, when dry in the great heat the channels lie. The world is mournful with the grief that falls on its beloved chief, as when the root is hewn away tree, fruit, and flower, and bud decay. The soul of duty, bright to see, he is the root of you and me and all of us who share his grief, his branches, blossom, fruit, and leaf. Now like the faithful a letter 147, we will follow and be true as he our wives and kinsmen call with speed, and hasten where our Lord shall lead. Yes, we will leave each well-loved spot, the field, the garden, and the cot, and, sharers of his weal and woe, behind the pious Rama go. Our houses, empty of their stores, with ruined courts and broken doors, with all their treasures borne away. And gear that made them bright and gay, o'errun by rats, with dust o'erspread shrines whence the deities have fled, where not a hand the water pours, or sweeps the long-neglected floors, no incense loads the evening air, no Brahmins chant the text and prayer. No fire of sacrifice is bright, no gift is known, no sacred rite, with floors which broken vessels strew, as if our woes had crushed them too. Of these be stern Kaikeyí queen, and rule o'er homes where we have been. The wood where Rama's feet may roam shall be our city and our home, and this fair city we forsake, our flight a wilderness shall make. Each serpent from his hole shall hie, the birds and beasts from mountain fly, lions and elephants in fear shall quit the woods when we come near, yield the broad wilds for us to range, and take our city in exchange. With Rama will we hence, content if where he is our days be spent. Such were the varied words the crowd of all conditions spoke aloud. And Rama heard their speeches, yet changed not his purpose firmly set. His father's palace soon he neared, that like Kailas's hill appeared. Like a wild elephant, he strode right onward to the bright abode. Within the palace court he stepped, where ordered bands their station kept, and saw Sumentra standing near with downcast eye and gloomy cheer. Canto 34. Rama in the palace. The dark incomparable chief, whose eye was like a lotus leaf, cried to the mournful charioteer, "Go tell my sire that I am here." Sumentra, sad and all dismayed, the chieftain's order swift obeyed. Within the palace doors he hied and saw the king, who wept and sighed. Like the great sun when wrapped in shade, like fire by ashes overlaid, or like a pool with waters dried, so lay the world's great lord and pride, while the wise Sumentra gazed on him, whose senses woe has dazed, grieving for Rama. Near he drew, with hands upraised, in reverence due. With blessing first his king he hailed, then with a voice that well nigh failed, in trembling accents soft and low, addressed the monarch in his woe. The prince of men, thy Rama, waits before thee at the palace gates. His wealth to Brahmins he has dealt, and all who in his home have dwelt. Admit thy son. His friends have heard his kind farewell and parting word. He longs to see thee first, and then will seek the wilds, O king of men. He, with each princely virtue's blaze, shines, as the sun engirt by rays. The truthful king who loved to keep the law profound as oceans deep, and stainless as the dark blue sky, thus to Sumentra made reply. Go then, Sumentra, go and call my wives and ladies one and all. Drawn round me shall they fill the place when I behold my Rama's face. Quick to the inner rooms he sped, and thus to all the women said, Come, at the summons of the king, come all, and make no tarrying. Their husband's word, by him conveyed, soon as they heard, the dames obeyed, and following his guidance all came thronging to the regal hall. In number 700, they all lovely dames in long array, with their bright eyes for weeping red, to stand round Queen Kausalya sped. They gathered, and the monarch viewed one moment all the multitude, then to Sumentra spoke and said, Now let my son be hither led. Sumentra went. Then Rama came, and Lakshman a letter 147, and the Maithil dame, and, as he led them on, their guide straight to the monarch's presence hied. When yet far off the father saw his son with raised palms toward him draw, girt by his ladies. Sick with woes, swift from his royal seat he rose. With all his strength the aged man to meet his darling Rama ran, but trembling, wild with dark despair, fell on the ground and fainted there. And Lakshman a letter 147, wanted cars to ride, and Rama, threw them by the side of the poor miserable king, half lifeless with his sorrow's sting. Throughout the spacious hall up went 1,000 women's wild lament. Ah Rama! Thus they wailed and wept, and anklets tinkled as they stepped around his body, weeping, through their loving arms the brothers too, and then, with Sita's gentle aid, the king upon a couch was laid. At length to earth's imperial lord, when life and knowledge were restored, though seas of woe went o'er his head, with suppliant hand, thus Rama said, Lord of us all, great king, thou art, bid me farewell before we part. To D a letter 1E47 letter 1E0D a K would this day I go, one blessing and one look bestow. Let L a K SHM, a letter 1E47 my companion be, and Sítá also follow me. With truthful pleas I sought to bend their purpose, but no ear they lend. Now cast this sorrow from thy heart, and let us all, great king, depart. As Brahma sends his children, so let L a K SHM, a letter 1E47 me, and Sítá go. He stood unmoved, and watched intent until the king should grant consent. Upon his son his eyes he cast, and thus the monarch spake at last. O Rama, by her arts enslaved, I gave the boons Kaikeyí craved, unfit to reign, by her misled, be ruler in thy father's stead. Thus by the Lord of men addressed, Rama, of virtue's friends the best, in lore of language duly learned, his answer, reverent, thus returned. 1,000 years, O king, remain o'er this our city still to reign. I in the woods my life will lead, the lust of rule no more I heed. 9 years and 5 I there will spend, and when the portioned days shall end, will come, my vows and exile o'er, and clasp thy feet, my king, once more. A captive in the snare of truth, weeping, distressed with woe and ruth, thus spake the monarch, while the queen Kaikeyí urged him on unseen. Go then, O Rama, and begin thy course unvexed by fear and sin. Go, my beloved son, and earn success and joy and safe return. So fast the bonds of duty bind. O Raghu's son, thy truthful mind, that naught can turn thee back, or guide thy will so strongly fortified. But oh, a little longer stay, nor turn thy steps this night away, that I one little day, alas! One only, with my son may pass. Me and thy mother do not slight, but stay, my son, with me tonight, with every dainty please thy taste, and seek tomorrow mourn the waste. Hard is thy task, O Raghu's son, dire is the toil thou wilt not shun, far to the lonely wood to flee, and leave thy friends for love of me. I swear it by my truth, believe for thee, my son, I deeply grieve, misguided by the traitorous dame with hidden guile like smoldering flame. Now, by her wicked counsel stirred, thou fain wouldst keep my plighted word. No marvel that my eldest born would hold me true when I have sworn. Then Rama, having calmly heard his wretched father speak each word, with L a K SHM, a letter 1E47 standing by his side, thus, humbly, to the king replied. If dainties now my taste regale, tomorrow must those dainties fail. This day departure, I prefer to all that wealth can minister. O'er this fair land, no longer mine, which I with all her realms resign, her multitudes of men, her grain, her stores of wealth, let bear it rain. And let the promised boon which thou wast pleased to grant the queen ere now, be hers in full. Be true, O king, kind giver of each precious thing. Thy spoken word I still will heed, obeying all thy lips decreed, and 14 years in woods will dwell with those who live in glade and dell. No hopes of power my heart can touch, no selfish joys attract so much as son of Raghu, to fulfill with heart and soul my father's will. Dismiss, dismiss thy needless woe, nor let those drowning torrents flow. The Lord of rivers in his pride keeps to the banks that bar his tide. Here in thy presence I declare, by thy good deeds, thy truth, I swear, nor lordship, joy, nor lands I prize, life, heaven, all blessings I despise. I wish to see thee still remain most true, O king, and free from stain. It must not, sire, it must not be, I cannot rest 1 hour with thee. Then bring this sorrow to an end, for naught my settled will can bend. I gave a pledge that binds me to, and to that pledge I still am true. Kaikeyí bade me speed away, she prayed me, and I answered yea. Pine not for me, and weep no more. The wood for us has joy in store, filled with the wild deer's peaceful herds and voices of 1,000 birds. A father is the god of each, yea, e'en of gods, so scriptures teach, and I will keep my sire's decree, for as a god I honor thee. O best of men, the time is nigh, the 14 years will soon pass by, and to thine eyes thy son restore. Be comforted, and weep no more. Thou with thy firmness shouldst support these weeping crowds who throng the court. Then why, O chief of high renown, so troubled and thy soul cast down? Canto 35. Kaikeyí reproached. Wild with the rage he could not calm, Sumantra, grinding palm on palm, his head in quick impatience shook, and sighed with woe he could not brook. He gnashed his teeth, His eyes were red, from his changed face the color fled. In rage and grief that knew no law, the temper of the king he saw. With his word arrows swift and keen, he shook the bosom of the queen. With scorn, as though its lightning stroke would blast her body, thus he spoke. Thou, who, of no dread sin afraid, haste Dasaratha's self-betrayed, lord of the world, whose might sustains each thing that moves or fixed remains, what direr crime is left thee now? Death to thy lord and house art thou, whose cruel deeds the king distress, Mahendra's peer in mightiness, firm as the mountains rooted steep, enduring as the oceans deep. Despise not Dasaratha, he is a kind lord and friend to thee. A loving wife in worth outruns the mother of 10 million sons. Kings, when their sires have passed away, succeed by birthright to the sway. Ikshvaku's son still rules the state, yet thou this rule wouldst violate. Yea, let thy son Kaikeyí reign, let Bharat rule his sire's domain. Thy will, O queen, shall none oppose, we all will go where Rama goes. No Brahmin, scorning thee, will rest within the realm thou governest, but all will fly indignant hence, so great thy trespass and offense. I marvel when thy crime I see, earth yawns not quick to swallow thee, and that the Brahmin saints prepare no burning scourge thy soul to scare, with cries of shame to smite thee, bent upon our Rama's banishment. The mango tree with axes fell, and tend instead the neem tree well, still watered with all care the tree will never sweet and pleasant be. Thy mother's faults to thee descend, and with thy borrowed nature blend. True as the ancient saw, the neem can ne'er distill a honeyed stream. Taught by the tale of long ago, thy mother's hateful sin we know. A bounteous saint, as all have heard, a boon upon thy sire conferred, and all the eloquence revealed that fills the wood, the flood, the field. No creature walked or swam or flew, but he its varied language knew. One morn upon his couch, he heard the chattering of a gorgeous bird. And as he marked its close intent, he laughed aloud in merriment. Thy mother, furious with her lord, and fain to perish by the cord, said to her husband, I would know, O monarch, why thou laughest so. The king in answer spake again, If I this laughter should explain, this very hour would be my last, for death, be sure, would follow fast. Again thy mother, flushed with ire, to Kaikeyí spake, thy royal sire. Tell me the cause, then live or die, I will not brook thy laugh, not I, thus by his darling wife addressed. The king whose might all earth confessed, to that kind saint his story told who gave the wondrous gift of old. He listened to the king's complaint, and thus in answer spoke the saint, King, let her quit thy home or die, but never with her prayer comply. The saint's reply his trouble stilled, and all his heart with pleasure filled. Thy mother from his home he sent, and days like Lord Cuverus spent. So thou wouldst force the king, misled by thee, in evil paths to tread, and bent on evil wouldst begin through folly this career of sin. Most true, methinks, in thee is shown the ancient saw so widely known, the sons their fathers, worth declare, and girls their mothers, nature share. So be not thou. For pity's sake, accept the word the monarch spake. Thy husband's will, O queen, obey, and be the people's hope and stay. Oh, do not, urged by folly, draw the king to tread on duty's law. The Lord who all the world sustains, bright as the God o'er gods who reigns. Our glorious king, by sin unstained, will never grant what fraud obtained. No shade of fault in him is seen, let Rama be anointed queen. Remember, queen, undying shame will through the world pursue thy name, if Rama leave the king his sire, and, banished, to the wood retire. Come, from thy breast this fever fling, of his own realm be Rama king. None in this city e'er can dwell to tend, and love thee half so well. When Rama sits in royal place, true to the custom of his race, our monarch of the mighty bow, a hermit to the woods will go. 310. Sumantra thus, palm joined to palm, poured forth his words of bane and balm, with keen reproach, with pleading kind, striving to move Kaikeyí's mind. In vain he prayed, in vain reproved, she heard unsoftened and unmoved. Nor could the eyes that watched her view one yielding look, one change of hue. Canto 36. Sítá speech. Ikshvaku's son, with anguish torn for the great oath his lips had sworn, with tears and sighs of sharpest pain, thus to Sumantra spake again. Prepare thou quick a perfect force, cars, elephants, and foot, and horse, to follow Raghu's scion hence equipped with all magnificence. Let traders with the wealth they sell, and those who charming stories tell, and dancing women fair of face, the prince's ample chariots grace. On all the train who throng his courts, and those who share his manly sports, great gifts of precious wealth bestow, and bid them with their master go. Let noble arms, and many a wain, and townsmen swell the prince's train, and hunters best for woodland skill their places in the concourse fill. While elephants and deer he slays, drinking wood honey as he strays, and looks on streams each fairer yet, his kingdom he may chance forget. Let all my gold and wealth of corn with Rama to the wilds be borne, for it will soothe the exile's lot to sacrifice in each pure spot, deal ample largesse forth, and meet each hermit in his calm retreat. The wealth shall Rama with him bear, Ayodhyá shall be Bharat's share. As thus Kakutsa's offspring spoke, fear in Kaikeyí's breast awoke. The freshness of her face was dried, her trembling tongue was terror-tied. Alarmed and sad, with bloodless cheek, she turned to him and scarce could speak. Nay, sire, but Bharat shall not gain an empty realm where none remain. My Bharat shall not rule a waste reft of all sweets to charm the taste. The wine cup's dregs, all dull and dead, whence the light foam and life are fled. Thus in her rage, the long-eyed dame spoke her dire speech untouched by shame. Then, answering, Dasaratha spoke. Why, having bowed me to the yoke, dost thou, must cruel, spur, and goad me who am struggling with the load? Why didst thou not oppose at first this hope, vile queen, so fondly nursed? Scarce could the monarch's angry speech the ears of the fair lady reach, when thus, with double wrath inflamed, Kaikeyí to the king exclaimed. Sagar, from whom thy line is traced, drove forth his eldest son disgraced, called a Samanj, whose fate we know, thus should thy son to exile go. Fie on thee, dame, the monarch said, each of her people bent his head, and stood in shame and sorrow mute she marked not, bold and resolute. Then great Siddharth, inflamed with rage, the good old counselor and sage on whose wise rede the king relied, to Queen Kaikeyí thus replied. But a Samanj the cruel laid his hands on infants as they played, cast them to Sarju's flood, and smiled for pleasure when he drowned a child. 311, the people saw and furious sped straight to the king his sire and said, Choose us, O glory of the throne, choose us or a Samanj alone. Whence comes this dread? The monarch cried, and all the people thus replied. In folly, king, he loves to lay fierce hands upon our babes at play, casts them to Sarju's flood, and joys to murder our bewildered boys. With heedful ear the king of men heard each complaining citizen. To please their troubled minds he strove, and from the state his son he drove. With wife and gear upon a car he placed him quick, and sent him far. And thus he gave commandment, he shall all his days in exile be. With basket and with plough he strayed o'er mountain heights, through pathless shade, roaming all lands a weary time, an outcast wretch defiled with crime. Sagar, the righteous path who held, his wicked offspring thus expelled. But what has Rama done to blame? Why should his sentence be the same? No sin his stainless name can dim, we see no fault at all in him. Pure as the moon, no darkening blot on his sweet life has left a spot. If thou canst see one fault, e'en one, to dim the fame of Raghu's son, that fault this hour, O lady, show, and Rama to the wood shall go. To drive the guiltless to the wild, truth's constant lover, undefiled, would, by defiance of the right, the glory e'en of Indra blight. Then cease, O lady, and dismiss thy hope to ruin Rama's bliss, or all thy gain, O fair of face, will be men's hatred and disgrace. Canto 37. The coats of bark. Thus spake the virtuous sage, and then Rama addressed the king of men. In laws of meek behavior bred, thus to his sire he meekly said, King, I renounce all earthly care, and live in woods on woodland fair. What dead to joys have I to do with lordly train and retinue? Who gives his elephant, and yet upon the girths his heart will set? How can a cord attract his eyes, who gives away the nobler prize? Best of the good, with me be led no host, my king with banners spread. All wealth, all lordship I resign, the hermit's dress alone be mine. Before I go, have here conveyed a little basket and a spade. With these alone I go, content, for 14 years of banishment. With her own hands Kaikeyí took the hermit coats of bark, and, look, she cried with bold unblushing brow before the concourse, dress thee now. That lion leader of the brave took from her hand the dress she gave, cast his fine raiment on the ground, and round his waist the vesture bound. Then quick the hero Lakshman, a letter 1472 his garment from his shoulders threw, and, in the presence of his sire, endued the ascetic's rough attire. But Sítá, in her silks arrayed, threw glances, trembling and afraid, on the bark coat she had to wear, like a shy doe that eyes the snare. Ashamed and weeping for distress from the queen's hand, she took the dress. The fair one, by her husband's side, who matched heaven's minstrel monarch, 312, cried, "How bind they on their woodland dress, those hermits of the wilderness?" There stood the pride of Janak's race perplexed, with sad appealing face. One coat the lady's fingers grasped, one round her neck she feebly clasped, but failed again, confused by the wild garb she ne'er had used. Then quickly hastening Ráma, pride of all who cherish virtue, tied the rough bark mantle on her, or the silken raiment that she wore. Then the sad women, when they saw Ráma the choice bark round her draw, rained water from each tender eye, and cried aloud with bitter cry, "Oh, not on her, beloved, not on Sítá falls thy mournful lot. If, faithful to thy father's will, thou must go forth, leave Sítá still. Let Sítá still remaining here our hearts with her loved presence cheer. With Lakshman, a letter 1447 by thy side to aid seek thou, dear son, the lonely shade. Unmeet, one good and fair as she should dwell in woods, a devotee. Let not our prayers be prayed in vain. Let beauteous Sítá yet remain, for by thy love of duty tied thou wilt not here thyself abide." Then the king's venerable guide via execute ish letter 160h, when he saw each coat enclose the lady's waist and throat, her zeal with gentle words repressed, and Queen Kaikeyí thus addressed, "O evil-hearted sinner, shame of royal Kaikeyí's race and name, who matchless in thy sin couldst cheat thy lord the king with vile deceit, lost to all sense of duty, no Sítá to exile shall not go. Sítá shall guard, as twere her own, the precious trust of Ráma's throne. Those joined by wedlock's sweet control have but one self and common soul. Thus Sítá shall our empress be, for Ráma's self and soul is she. Or if she still to Ráma cleave, and for the woods the kingdom leave, if not her loving heart deter, we and this town will follow her. The warders of the queen shall take their wives and go for Ráma's sake. The nation with its stores of grain, the city's wealth shall swell his train. Burit, Satragna both will wear bark mantles, and his lodging share, still with their elder brother dwell in the wild wood, and serve him well. Rest here alone, and rule thy state unpeopled, barren, desolate. Be empress of the land and trees, thou sinner whom our sorrows please. The land which Ráma reigns, not o'er shall bear the kingdom's name no more. The woods which Ráma wanders through shall be our home and kingdom too. Burit, be sure, will never deign o'er realms his father yields to reign. Nay, if the king's true son he be, he will not, son-like, dwell with thee. Nay, shouldst thou from the earth arise, and send thy message from the skies to his forefathers, custom true no erring course would he pursue. So hast thou, by thy grievous fault, offended him thou wouldst exalt. In all the world none draws his breath who loves not Ráma, true to death. This day, O queen, shalt thou behold birds, deer, and beasts from lay and fold turn to the woods in Ráma's train. And not save longing trees remain. Canto 38. Care for Ayodhyá. Then when the people wroth and sad saw Sítá in bark vesture clad, though wedded, like some widowed thing, they cried out, "Shame upon thee, king!" Grieved by their cry and angry look, the lord of earth at once forsook all hope in life that still remained, in duty, self, and fame unstained. Ikshvaku's son, with burning sighs on Queen Kaikeyí, bent his eyes, and said, "But Sítá must not flee in garments of a devotee. My holy guide has spoken truth, unfit is she in tender youth, so gently nurtured, soft and fair, the hardships of the wood to share. How has she sinned, devout and true, the noblest monarch's child, that she should garb of bark in dew and journey to the wild? That she should spend her youthful days amid a hermit band, like some poor mendicant who strays sore troubled through the land? Ah, let the child of Janak throw her dress of bark aside, and let the royal lady go with royal wealth supplied. Not such the pledge I gave before, unfit to linger here. The oath, which I the sinner swore is kept and leaves her clear. Won from her childlike love, this to my instant death would be, as blossoms on the old bamboo destroy the parent tree. 313 If aught amiss by Rama done offend thee, O thou wicked one, what least transgression canst thou find in her, thou worst of womankind? What shade of fault in her appears, whose full soft eye is like the deer? What canst thou blame in Janak's child, so gentle, modest, true, and mild? Is not one crime complete, that sent my Rama forth to banishment? And wilt thou other sins commit, thou wicked one, to double it? This is the pledge and oath I swore, what thou besoughtest, and no more of Rama, for I heard thee, dame, when he for consecration came. Now with this limit, not content, in hell should be thy punishment, who fain the Maithil bride wouldst press to clothe her limbs with hermit dress. Thus spake the father in his woe, and Rama, still prepared to go, to him who sat with drooping head spake in return these words and said, Just king, here stands my mother dear Kausalya, one whom all revere. Submissive, gentle, old is she, and keeps her lips from blame of thee, for her, kind lord, of me bereft a sea of whelming woe is left. Oh, show her in her new distress, still fonder love and tenderness. Well honored by thine honored hand her grief for me, let her withstand, who wrapped in constant thought of me in me, would live a devotee. Peer of Mahendra, oh, to her be kind, entreat I pray, my gentle mother so, that, when I dwell afar, her life resigned, she may not pass to Yama's realm for woe. Canto 39. Counsel to Sítá. Scarce had the sire, with each dear queen, heard Rama's pleading voice, and seen his darling in his hermit dress air, failed his senses for distress. Convulsed with woe, his soul that shook, on Raghu's son he could not look, or if he looked with failing eye, he could not to the chief reply. By pangs of bitter grief assailed, the long-armed monarch wept and wailed, half dead a while and sore distraught, while Rama filled his every thought. This hand of mine in days ere now has reft her young from many a cow, or living things has idly slain. Hence comes, I ween, this hour of pain. Not till the hour is come to die, can from its shell the spirit fly. Death comes not, and Kaikeyí still torments the wretch she cannot kill, who sees his son before him quit the fine soft robes his rank that fit, and, glorious as the burning fire, in hermit garb his limbs attire. Now all the people grieve and groan through Queen Kaikeyí's deed alone, who, having dared this deed of sin, strives for herself the gain to win. He spoke. With tears his eyes grew dim, his senses all deserted him. He cried, O Rama, once, then weak and fainting could no further speak. Unconscious there he lay, at length regathering his sense and strength, while his full eyes their torrents shed, to wise Sumantra thus he said, Yoke the light car, and hither lead fleet coursers of the noblest breed, and drive this air of lofty fate beyond the limit of the state. This seems the fruit that virtues bear, the meed of worth which texts declare, the sending of the brave and good by sire and mother to the wood. He heard the monarch, and obeyed with ready feet that ne'er delayed, and brought before the palace gate the horses and the car of state. Then to the monarch's son he sped, and raising hands of reverence said that the light car which gold made fair, with best of steeds, was standing there. King Dasaratha called in haste the lord o'er, all his treasures placed, and spoke, well skilled in place and time, his will to him devoid of crime. Count all the years she has to live afar in forest wilds, and give to Sítá robes and gems of price, as for the time may well suffice. Quick to the treasure room he went, charged by that king most excellent, brought the rich stores, and gave them all to Sítá in the monarch's hall. The Maithil dame of high descent received each robe and ornament, and tricked those limbs, whose lines foretold high destiny, with gems and gold. So well adorned, so fair to view, a glory through the hall she threw. So, when the Lord of Light upsprings, his radiance o'er the sky he flings. Then Queen Kausalya spake at last, with loving arms about her cast, pressed lingering kisses on her head, and to the high-souled lady said, Ah, in this faithless world below, when dark misfortune comes and woe, wives, loved and cherished every day, neglect their lords and disobey. Yes, woman's nature still is this. After long days of calm and bliss, when some light grief her spirit tries, she changes all her love or flies. Young wives are thankless, false in soul, with roving hearts that spurn control. Brooding on sin and quickly changed, In one short hour their love estranged. Not glorious deed or lineage fair, not knowledge, gift, or tender care in chains of lasting love, can bind a woman's light and constant mind. But those good dames who still maintain what right, truth, scripture, rule ordain, no holy thing in their pure eyes with one beloved husband vies. Nor let thy lord my son, condemned to exile, be by thee contemned, for be he poor or wealthy, he is as a god, dear child, to thee. When Sítá heard Kausaliya's speech her duty and her gain to teach, she joined her palms with reverent grace and gave her answer face to face. All will I do, forgetting naught, which thou, O honored queen, hast taught. I know, have heard, and deep have stored the rules of duty to my lord. Not me, good queen, shouldst thou include among the faithless multitude. Its own sweet light, the moon shall leave ere I to duty cease to cleave. The stringless lute gives forth no strain, the wheelless car is urged in vain. No joy a lordless dame, although blessed with 100 sons, can know. From father, brother, and from son a measured share of joy is won. Who would not honor, love, and bless her lord, whose gifts are measureless? Thus trained to think, I hold in awe Scripture's command and duty's law. Him can I hold in slight esteem. Her lord is woman's god, I deem. Kausaliya heard the lady's speech, nor failed those words her heart to reach. Then, pure in mind, she gave to flow the tear that sprang of joy and woe. Then duteous Rama forward came and stood before the honored dame, and joining reverent hands addressed the queen in rank above the rest. O mother, from these tears refrain, look on my sire, and still thy pain. To thee my days afar shall fly as if sweet slumber closed thine eye, and 14 years of exile seem to thee, dear mother, like a dream. On me returning safe and well, girt by my friends, thine eyes shall dwell. Thus for their deep affection's sake the hero to his mother spake, then to the half 702 wives of his sire, paid reverence due. Thus Dasaratha's son addressed that crowd of matrons sore distressed. If from these lips, while here I dwelt, one heedless taunt you e'er have felt, forgive me, pray. And now adieu, I bid good-bye to all of you. Then straight, like curlews' cries, up went the voices of their wild lament, while, as he bade farewell, the crowd of royal women wept aloud, and through the ample hall's extent, where erst the sound of tabor, blent with drum and shrill-toned instrument, in joyous concert rose, now rang the sound of wailing high, the lamentation and the cry, the shriek, the choking sob, the sigh that told the lady's woes. Canto 40. Rama's departure. Then Rama, Sítá, Lakshman, a letter 1E47 bent at the king's feet, and sadly went round him with slow steps reverent. When Rama of the duteous heart had gained his sire's consent to part, with Sítá by his side, he paid due reverence to the queen dismayed. And Lakshman, a letter 1E47, with affection meet, bowed down and clasped his mother's feet. Sumitra viewed him as he pressed her feet, and thus her son addressed, neglect not Rama wandering there, but tend him with thy faithful care. In hours of wealth, in time of woe him, sinless son, thy refuge know. From this good law the just ne'er swerve, that younger sons the eldest serve. And to this righteous rule incline all children of thine ancient line, freely to give, reward each right, nor spare their bodies in the fight. Let Rama Dasaratha be, look upon Sítá as on me, and let the cot wherein you dwell be thine Ayodhyá. Fare thee well. Her blessing thus Sumitra gave to him whose soul to Rama clave, exclaiming when her speech was done, Go forth, O Lakshman, a letter 1E47, go, my son. Go forth, my son, to win success, high victory and happiness. Go forth thy foeman to destroy, and turn again at last with joy. As Matali his charioteer speaks for the Lord of gods to hear, Sumantra, palm to palm applied, in reverence trained, to Rama cried, O famous prince, my car ascend, may blessings on thy course attend, and swiftly shall my horses flee and place thee where thou biddest me. The 14 years thou hast to stay far in the wilds, begin today, for Owing Kaikeyí cries away. Then Sítá, best of womankind, ascended with a tranquil mind, soon as her toilet task was done, that chariot brilliant as the sun. Rama and Lakshman, a letter 1E47 true, and bold sprang on the car adorned with gold. The king those years had counted o'er, and given Sítá robes and store of precious ornaments to wear when following her husband there. The brothers in the car found place for nets and weapons of the chase. Their warlike arms and mail they laid, a leathern basket and a spade. Soon as Sumentra saw the three were seated in the chariot, he urged on each horse of noble breed, who matched the rushing wind in speed. As thus the son of Raghu went forth for his dreary banishment, chill-numbing grief the town assailed, all strength grew weak, all spirit failed. Ayodhyá through her wide extent was filled with tumult and lament. Steeds neighed and shook the bells they bore, each elephant returned a roar. Then all the city, young and old, wild with their sorrow uncontrolled, rushed to the car, as from the sun the panting herds to water run. Before the car, behind, they clung, and there as eagerly they hung, with torrents streaming from their eyes, called loudly with repeated cries. Listen, Sumentra, draw thy rein, drive gently, and thy steeds restrain. Once more on Rama will we gaze, now to be lost for many days. The queen his mother has, be sure, a heart of iron, to endure to see her godlike Rama go, nor feel it shattered by the blow. Sítá, well done. Vide his pride, still like his shadow by his side, rejoicing in thy duty still as sunlight cleaves to Meru's hill. Thou Lakshman a letter 1E47, 2, hast well deserved, who from thy duty hast not swerved, tending the peer of gods above, whose lips speak naught but words of love. Thy firm resolve is nobly great, and high success on thee shall wait. Yea, thou shalt win a priceless meed, thy path with him to heaven shall lead. As thus they spake, they could not hold the tears that down their faces rolled, while still they followed for a space their darling of Ikshvaku's race. There stood surrounded by a ring of mournful wives the mournful king, for, I will see once more, he cried, mine own dear son, and forth he hied. As he came near, there rose the sound of weeping, as the dames stood round. So the she-elephants complain, when their great lord and guide is slain. Kakutsa's son, the king of men, the glorious sire, looked troubled then, as the full moon is when dismayed by dark eclipses threatening shade. Then Dasaratha's son, designed for highest fate of lofty mind, urged to more speed the charioteer. Away, away. Why linger here? Urge on thy horses, Rama cried, and stay, oh stay, the people sighed. Sumentra, urged to speed away, the townsman's call must disobey, forth as the long-armed hero went. The dust his chariot wheels upsent was laid by streams that ever flowed from their sad eyes who filled the road. Then, sprung of woe, from eyes of all the women drops began to fall, as from each lotus on the lake the darting fish the water shake. When he, the king of high renown, saw that one thought held all the town, like some tall tree he fell and lay, whose root the axe has hewn away. Then straight a mighty cry from those who followed Rama's car arose, who saw their monarch fainting there beneath that grief too great to bear. Then Rama, Rama, with the cry of ah, his mother, sounded high, as all the people wept aloud around the ladies' sorrowing crowd. When Rama backward turned his eye, and saw the king his father lie with troubled sense and failing limb, and the sad queen who followed him, like some young creature in the net, that will not, in its misery, let its wild eyes on its mother rest, so, by the bonds of duty pressed, his mother's look he could not meet. He saw them with their weary feet, who, used to bliss, in cars should ride, who ne'er by sorrow should be tried, and as one mournful look he cast, drive on, he cried, Sumentra, fast. As when the driver's torturing hook goads on an elephant, the look of sire and mother in despair was more than Rama's heart could bear. As mother kind to stalls return which hold the calves for whom they yearn, so to the car she tried to run as a cow seeks her little one. Once and again the hero's eyes looked on his mother, as with cries of woe she called and gestures wild, O Sítá, Lakshman a letter 1E47, O my child. Stay, cried the king, thy chariot stay. On, cried Rama, speed away. As one between two hosts, inclined to neither was Sumentra's mind. But Rama spake these words again, a lengthened woe is bitterest pain. On, and if his wrath grow hot, thine answer be, I heard thee not. Sumentra, at the chief's behest, dismissed the crowd that toward him pressed, and, as he bade, to swiftest speed urged on his way each willing steed. The king's attendants parted thence, and paid him heartfelt reverence. In mind, and with the tears he wept, each still his place near Rama kept. As swift away the horses sped, his lords to Dasaratha said, "To follow him whom thou again wouldst see returning home is vain." With failing limb and drooping mien, he heard their counsel wise. Still on their son the king and queen kept fast their lingering eyes. 314. Canto 41. The Citizens' Lament. The lion chief with hands upraised was born from eyes that fondly gazed. But then the lady's bower was rent with cries of weeping and lament. Where goes he now, our lord, the sure protector of the friendless poor, in whom the wretched and the weak defense and aid were wont to seek? All words of wrath he turned aside, and ne'er, when cursed, in ire replied. He shared his people's woe, and stilled the troubled breast which rage had filled. Our chief, on lofty thoughts intent, in glorious fame preeminent, as on his own dear mother, thus he ever looked on each of us. Where goes he now? His sire's behest, by Queen Kaikeyí's guile distressed, has banished to the forest hence him who is all the world's defense. Ah, senseless king, to drive away the hope of men, their guard and stay, to banish to the distant wood Rama the duteous, true, and good. The royal dames, like cows bereaved of their young calves, thus sadly grieved. The monarch heard them as they wailed, and by the fire of grief assailed for his dear son, he bowed his head, and all his sense and memory fled. Then were no fires of worship fed, thick darkness o'er the sun was spread. The cows their thirsty calves denied, and elephants flung their food aside. Tricencu, 315, Jupiter looked dread, and Mercury and Mars the red in direful opposition met, the glory of the moon beset. The lunar stars withheld their light, the planets were no longer bright, but meteors with their horrid glare and dire visicas, 316, lit the air. As troubled ocean heaves and raves when doom's wild tempest sweeps the waves, thus all Ayodhyá reeled and bent when Rama to the forest went. And chilling grief and dark despair fell suddenly on all men there. Their wonted pastime all forgot, nor thought of food or touched it not. Crowds in the royal street were seen with weeping eye and troubled mien. No more a people gay and glad, each head and heart was sick and sad. No more the cool wind softly blew, the moon no more was fair to view, no more the sun with genial glow cherished the world now plunged in woe. Sons, brothers, husbands, wedded wives forgot the ties that joined their lives. No thought for kith and kin was spared, but all for only Rama cared. And Rama's friends who loved him best, their minds disordered and distressed, by the great burthen of their woes, turn not to slumber or repose. Like earth with all her hills bereft of Indra's guiding care, Ayodhyá and her sorrow left by him, the high-souled air was bowed by fear and sorrow's force, and shook with many a throe while warrior, elephant, and horse sent up the cry of woe. Canto 42. Dasaratha's Lament. While yet the dust was seen afar that marked the course of Rama's car, the glory of Ikshvaku's race turned not away his eager face. While yet his duteous son he saw he could not once his gaze withdraw, but rooted to the spot remained with eyes that after Rama strained. But when that dust no more he viewed, fainting he fell by grief subdued. To his right hand Kausalya went, and ready aid the lady lent, while Bharat's loving mother tried to raise him on the other side. The king, within whose ordered soul justice and virtue held control, to Queen Kaikeyí turned and said, with every sense disquieted, "Touch me not, thou whose soul can plot all sin. Kaikeyí, touch me not. No loving wife, no friend to me, I ne'er again would look on thee, ne'er from this day have aught to do with thee and all thy retinue, thee whom no virtuous thoughts restrain, whose selfish heart seeks only gain. The hand I laid in mine, O dame, the steps we took around the flame, 317, and all that links thy life to mine here and hereafter I resign. If Bharat too, thy darling son, joy in the rule thy art has won, ne'er may the funeral offerings paid by his false hand approach my shade." Then while the dust upon him hung, the monarch to Kausalya clung, and she with mournful steps in slow turned to the palace, worn with woe. As one whose hand has touched the fire, or slain a Brahmin in his ire, he felt his heart with sorrow torn, still thinking of his son forlorn. Each step was torture, as the road the traces of the chariot showed, and as the shadowed sun grows dim, so care and anguish darkened him. He raised a cry, by woe distraught, as of his son again he thought. And judging that the car had sped beyond the city, thus he said, I still behold the footprints made by the good horses that conveyed my son afar. These marks I see, but high-souled Rama, where is he? Ah me, my son, my first and best, on pleasant couches want a rest, with limbs perfumed with sandal, fanned by many a beauty's tender hand. Where will he lie with log or stone beneath him for a pillow thrown to leave at morn his earthy bed, neglected, and with dust o'erspread, as from the flood with sigh and pant comes forth the husband elephant? The men who make the woods their home shall see the long-armed hero roam roused from his bed, though lord of all, in semblance of a friendless thrall. Janak's dear child, who ne'er has met with aught save joy and comfort yet, will reach today the forest, worn and wearied with the brakes of thorn. Ah, gentle girl, of woods unskilled, how will her heart with dread be filled at the wild beasts' deep roaring there, whose voices lift the shuddering hair? Kaikeyí, glory in thy gain, and, widow queen, begin to reign. No will, no power to live have I when my brave son no more is nigh. Thus pouring forth laments, the king, girt by the people's crowded ring, entered the noble bower like one new-bathed when funeral rites are done. Where'er he looked not met his gaze, but empty houses, courts, and ways. Closed were the temples. Countless feet no longer trod the royal street, and thinking of his son, he viewed men weak and worn and woe-subdued. As sinks the sun into a cloud, so passed he on, and wept aloud, within that house no more to be the dwelling of the banished three, brave Rama, his Vedahin bride, and Lakshman a letter 1E47 by his brother's side, like broad still waters, when the king of all the birds that ply the wing has swooped from heaven and borne away the glittering snakes that made them gay. With choking sobs and voice half spent the king renewed his sad lament, with broken utterance faint and low scarce could he speak these words of woe. My steps to Rama's mother guide, and place me by Kausaliya's side. There, only there my heart may know some little respite from my woe. The warders of the palace led the monarch, when his words were said, to Queen Kausaliya's bower, and there laid him with reverential care. But while he rested on the bed still, was his soul disquieted. In grief he tossed his arms on high, lamenting with a piteous cry, O Rama, Rama, thus said he, my son, thou hast forsaken me. High bliss awaits those favored men left living in Ayodhyá then, whose eyes shall see my son once more returning when the time is o'er. Then came the night, whose hated gloom fell on him like the night of doom. At midnight Dasaratha cried to Queen Kausaliya by his side, I see thee not, Kausaliya, lay thy gentle hand in mine, I pray. When Rama left his home, my sight went with him, nor returns tonight. Canto 43. Kausaliya's Lament. Kausaliya saw the monarch lie with drooping frame and failing eye, and for her banished son distressed with these sad words her lord addressed. Kaikeyí, cruel, false, and vile, has cast the venom of her guile on Rama, lord of men, and she will ravage like a snake set free, and more my soul alarm. Like a dire serpent bent on harm, for triumph crowns each dark intent, and Rama to the wild is sent. Ah, were he doomed but here to stray begging his food from day to day, or do, enslaved, Kaikeyí's will, this were a boon, a comfort still. But she, as chose her cruel hate, has hurled him from his high estate, as Brahmins when the moon is new cast to the ground the demons do. 318. The long-armed hero, like the lord of Nagas, with his bow and sword begins, I ween, his forest life with Lakshman a letter 1E47 and his faithful wife. Ah, how will fare the exiles now, whom, moved by Queen Kaikeyí, thou hast sent in forests to abide, bred in delights by woe untried. Far banished when their lives are young, with the fair fruit before them hung, deprived of all their rank that suits, how will they live on grain and roots? Oh, that my years of woe were past, and the glad hour were come at last when I shall see my children dear, Rama, his wife, and Lakshman a letter 1E47 here. When shall Ayodhyá, wild with glee, again those mighty heroes see, and decked with wreaths her banners wave to welcome home the true and brave? When will the beautiful city view with happy eyes the lordly two returning, joyful as the Main when the dear moon is full again? When, like some mighty bull who leads the cow exulting through the meads, will Rama through the city ride, strong-armed, with Sítá at his side? When will 10,000 meet, and crowd Ayodhya's royal street, and grain in joyous welcome throw upon my sons who tame the foe. When with delight shall youthful bands of Brahmin maidens in their hands bear fruit and flowers in goodly show, and circling round Ayodhya go. With ripened judgment of a sage, and godlike in his blooming age, when shall my virtuous son appear, like kindly rain, our hearts to cheer? Ah, in a former life, I ween, this hand of mine, most base and mean, has dried the udders of the kine and left the thirsty calves to pine. Hence, as the lion robs the cow, Kaikeyí makes me childless now, exulting from her feebler foe to rend the son she cherished so. I had but him, in scripture skilled, with every grace his soul was filled. Now not a joy has life to give, and robbed of him I would not live. Yea, all my days are dark and drear if he, my darling, be not near. And Lakshman a letter 1E47 brave, my heart to cheer. As for my son, I mourn and yearn. The quenchless flames of anguish burn and kill me with the pain, as in the summer's noontide blaze the glorious day God with his rays consumes the parching plain. Canto 44. Sumitra's speech. Kausalya ceased her sad lament, of beauteous dames most excellent. Sumitra, who to duty clave, in righteous words this answer gave. Dear queen, all noble virtues grace thy son, of men the first in place. Why dost thou shed these tears of woe, with bitter grief lamenting so? If Rama, leaving royal sway, has hastened to the woods away, 'tis for his high-souled father's sake, that he his premise may not break. He to the path of duty clings, which lordly fruit hereafter brings, the path to which the righteous cleave. For him, dear queen, thou shouldst not grieve. And Lakshman, a letter 1E472, the blameless souled, the same high course with him will hold, and mighty bliss on him shall wait, so tenderly compassionate. And Sítá, bred with tender care, well knows what toils await her there, but in her love she will not part from Rama of the virtuous heart. Now has thy son through all the world the banner of his fame unfurled, true, modest, careful of his vow, what has he left to aim at now? The sun will mark his mighty soul. His wisdom, sweetness, self-control will spare from pain his face and limb, and with soft radiance shine for him. For him through forest glades shall spring a soft auspicious breeze, and bring its tempered heat and cold to play around him ever night and day. The pure cold moonbeams shall delight the hero as he sleeps at night, and soothe him with the soft caress of a fond parent's tenderness. To him, the bravest of the brave, his heavenly arms the Brahmin gave, when fierce Suvahu dyed the plain with his lifeblood by Rama slain. Still trusting to his own right arm, thy hero son will fear no harm, as in his father's palace, he in the wild woods will dauntless be. Whene'er he lets his arrows fly, his stricken foemen fall and die. And is that prince of peerless worth too weak to keep and sway the earth? His sweet pure soul, his beauty's charm, his hero heart, his warlike arm, will soon redeem his rightful reign when from the woods he comes again. The Brahmins on the prince's head king-making drops shall quickly shed, and Sítá, earth, and fortune share the glories which await the heir. For him, when forth his chariot swept, the crowd that thronged Ayodhya wept, with agonizing woe distressed. With him in hermit's mantle, dressed in guise of Sítá, Lakshmi went, and none his glory may prevent. Yea, not to him is high or hard before whose steps to be his guard. Lakshman a letter 1E47, the best who draws the bow, with spear, shaft, sword rejoiced to go. His wanderings in the forest o'er, thine eyes shall see thy son once more. Quit thy faint heart, thy grief dispel, for this, O queen, is truth I tell. Thy son returning moonlike, thence, shall at thy feet do reverence. And, blessed and blameless lady, thou shalt see his head to touch them bow. Yea, thou shalt see thy son made king when he returns with triumphing, and how thy happy eyes will brim with tears of joy to look on him. Thou, blameless lady, shouldst the whole of the sad people here console. Why in thy tender heart allow this bitter grief to harbor now? As the long banks of cloud distill their water when they see the hill, so shall the drops of rapture run from thy glad eyes to see thy son returning, as he lowly bends to greet thee, girt by all his friends. Thus soothing, kindly eloquent, with every hopeful argument Kausalya's heart by sorrow rent, fair Queen Sumitra ceased. Kausalya heard each pleasant plea, and grief began to leave her free, as the light clouds of autumn flee, their watery stores decreased. Canto 45. The Tamisaw. Their tender love the people drew to follow Rama brave and true, the high-souled hero, as he went forth from his home to banishment. The king himself his friends obeyed, and turned him homeward as they prayed. But yet the people turned not back, still close on Rama's chariot track. For they who in Ayodhyá dwelt for him, such fond affection felt, decked with all grace and glories high, the dear full moon of every eye. Though much his people prayed and wept, Kakutsa's son his purpose kept, and still his journey would pursue to keep the king his father true. Deep in the hero's bosom sank their love, whose signs his glad eye drank. He spoke to cheer them, as his own dear children, in a loving tone. If you would grant my fond desire, give Burrit now that love entire and reverence shown to me by all who dwell within Ayodhya's wall. For he, Kaikeyí's darling son, his virtuous career will run, and ever bound by duty's chain consult your weal and bliss and gain. In judgment old, in years a child, with hero virtues meek and mild, a fitting lord is he to cheer his people and remove their fear. In him all kingly gifts abound, more noble than in me are found. Imperial prince, well proved and tried, obey him as your lord and guide. And grant, I pray, the boon I ask, to please the king be still your task, that his fond heart, while I remain far in the wood, may feel no pain. The more he showed his will to tread the path where filial duty led, the more the people, round him thronged, for their dear Rama's empire longed. Still more attached his followers grew, as Rama, with his brother, drew the people with his virtues' ties, lamenting all with tear-dimmed eyes. The saintly twice-born, triply old in glory, knowledge, seasons told with hoary heads that shook and bowed, their voices raised and spake aloud. O steeds, who best and noblest are, who whirl so swiftly Rama's car, go not, return, we call on you, be to your master kind and true. For speechless things are swift to hear, and naught can match a horse's ear. O generous steeds, return, when thus you hear the cry of all of us. Each vow he keeps most firm and sure, and duty makes his spirit pure. Back with our chief. Not would ward hence back to his royal residence. Soon as he saw the aged band, exclaiming in their misery, stand, and their sad cries around him rang, swift from his chariot Rama sprang. Then still upon his journey bent, with Sítá, and with Lakshman, a letter 1E47 went the hero by the old men's side, suiting to theirs his shortened stride. He could not pass the twice-born throng as weariedly they walked along. With pitying heart, with tender eye, he could not in his chariot fly. When the steps of Rama viewed that still his onward course pursued, woe shook the troubled heart of each, and burnt with grief they spoke this speech. With thee, O Rama, to the wood all Brahmins go and Brahmanhood, borne on our aged shoulders, see, our fires of worship go with thee. Bright canopies that lend their shade in Vajrapya, 319 rites displayed. In plenteous store are borne behind like cloudlets in the autumn wind. No shelter from the sun hast thou, and lest his fury burn thy brow, these sacrificial shades we bear shall aid thee in the noontide glare. Our hearts who ever loved to pore on sacred text and Vedic lore, now all to thee, beloved, turn, and for a life in forests yearn. Deep in our aged bosoms lies the Vedas' lore, the wealth we prize, there still, like wives at home, shall dwell, whose love and truth protect them well. To follow thee our hearts are bent, we need not plan or argument. All else in duty's law we slight, for following thee is following right. O noble prince, retrace thy way. O hear us, Rama, as we lay with many tears and many prayers, our aged heads and swan-white hairs low in the dust before thy feet. O, hear us, Rama, we entreat. Full many of these who with thee run, their sacred rites had just begun. Unfinished, yet those rites remain, but finished if thou turn again. All rooted life and things that move to thee their deep affection prove. To them, when warmed by love, they glow and sue to thee. Some favor show each lowly bush, each towering tree would follow too for love of thee. Bound by its root it must remain, but all it can, its boughs complain, as when the wild wind rushes by it tells its woe in groan and sigh. No more through air the gay birds flit, but, foodless, melancholy sit together on the branch and call to thee whose kind heart feels for all. As wailed the aged Brahmins, bent to turn him back with wild lament, seemed Tamasá herself to aid, checking his progress as they prayed. Sumantra from the chariot freed, with ready hand each weary steed. He groomed them with the utmost heed. Their limbs he bathed and dried, then led them forth to drink and feed at pleasure in the grassy mead that fringed the river side. Canto 46. The Halt. When Rama, chief of Raghu's race, arrived at that delightful place, he looked on Sítá first, and then to Lakshman a letter 1E47 spake the Lord of men. Now first the shades of night descend, since to the wilds our steps we bend. Joy to thee, brother! Do not grieve for our dear home, and all we leave. The woods unpeopled seem to weep around us, as their tenants creep or fly to lair and den and nest, both bird and beast, to seek their rest. Methinks Ayodhyá's royal town, where dwells my sire of high renown, with all her men and dames, tonight will mourn us vanished from their sight. For by his virtues won, they cling in fond affection to their king, and thee and me, O brave and true, and Bharat and Satrugna too. I for my sire and mother feel deep sorrow o'er my bosom steal, lest mourning us, oppressed with fears, they blind their eyes with endless tears. Yet Bharat's duteous love will show sweet comfort in their hours of woe, and with kind words their hearts sustain, suggesting duty, bliss, and gain. I mourn my parents now no more. I count dear Bharat's virtues o'er, and his kind love and care dispel the doubts I had, and all is well. And thou thy duty wouldst not shun, and, following me, hast nobly done else, bravest, I should need a band around my wife as guard to stand. On this first night, my thirst to slake, some water only will I take. Thus, brother, thus my will decides, though varied store the wood provides. Thus having said to Lakshman a letter 1E47, he addressed in turn Sumantra. Be most diligent tonight, my friend, and with due care thy horses tend. The sun had set. Sumantra tied his noble horses side by side, gave store of grass with liberal hand, and rested near them on the strand. Each paid the holy evening rite, and when around them fell the night, the charioteer, with Lakshman a letter 1E47 essayed, a lowly bed for Rama laid. To Lakshman a letter 1E47 Rama bade adieu. And then by Sítá's side he threw his limbs upon the leafy bed, their care upon the bank had spread. When Lakshman a letter 1E47 saw the couple slept, still on the strand his watch he kept, still with Sumantra there conversed, and Rama's varied gifts rehearsed. All night he watched, nor sought repose, till on the earth the sun arose, with him Sumantra stayed awake, and still of Rama's virtues spake. Thus, near the river's grassy shore witch herds unnumbered wandered o'er, repose, untroubled, Rama found, and all the people lay around. The glorious hero left his bed, looked on the sleeping crowd, and said to Lakshman a letter 1E47, whom each lucky line marked out for bliss with surest sign. O brother Lakshman a letter 1E47, look on these reclining at the roots of trees, all care of house and home resigned, caring for us with heart and mind. These people of the city yearn to see us to our home return, to quit their lives will they consent, but never leave their firm intent. Come, while they all unconscious sleep, let us upon the chariot leap, and swiftly on our journey speed where not our progress may impede, that these fond citizens who roam far from Ikshvaku's ancient home no more may sleep, 'neath bush and tree, following still for love of me. A prince with tender care should heal the self-brought woes his people feel, and never let his subjects share the burthen he is forced to bear. Then Lakshman a letter 1E47 to the chief replied, who stood like justice by his side, Thy rede, O sage, I well commend, without delay the car ascend. Then Rama to Sumantra spoke, Thy rapid steeds, I pray thee, yoke. Hence to the forest will I go, away, my lord, and be not slow. Sumantra, urged to utmost speed, yoked to the car each generous steed, and then, with hand to hand applied, he came before the chief and cried, Hail, prince, whom mighty arms adorn, hail, bravest of the chariot born. With Sítá and thy brother thou mayst mount, the car is ready now. The hero clomb the car with haste, his bow and gear within were placed, and quick the eddying flood, he passed of Tamasá whose waves run fast. Soon as he touched the farther side, that strong-armed hero glorified, he found a road both wide and clear, where e'en the timid naught could fear. Then, that the crowd might be misled, thus Rama to Sumantra said, "Speed north a while, then hasten back, returning in thy former track, that so the people may not learn the course I follow, drive and turn." Sumantra, at the chief's behest, quick to the task himself addressed, then near to Rama came, and showed the chariot ready for the road. With Sítá then, the princely two, who o'er the line of Raghu threw, a glory ever bright and new upon the chariot stood. Sumantra fast and faster drove his horses, who in fleetness strove still onward to the distant grove, the hermit-haunted wood. Canto 47. The citizens return. The people, when the morn shone fair, arose to find no Rama there. Then fear and numbing grief subdued the senses of the multitude. The woe-born tears were running fast as all around their eyes they cast, and sadly looked, but found no trace of Rama, searching every place. Bereft of Rama good and wise, with drooping cheer and weeping eyes, each woe-distracted sage gave vent to sorrow in his wild lament. Woe worth the sleep that stole our sense with its beguiling influence, that now we look in vain for him of the broad chest and stalwart limb. How could the strong-armed hero, thus deceiving all, abandon us? His people so devoted see, yet to the woods a hermit flee. How can he won our hearts to cheer, as a fond sire his children dear? How can the pride of Raghu's race fly from us to some desert place? Here let us all for death prepare, or on the last great journey fare. 320, of Rama our dear Lord bereft, what profit in our lives is left? Huge trunks of trees around us lie, with roots and branches sere and dry. Come, let us set these logs on fire, and throw our bodies on the pyre. What shall we speak? How can we say we followed Rama on his way, the mighty chief whose arm is strong, who sweetly speaks, who thinks no wrong? Ayodhya's town with sorrow dumb, without our Lord will see us come, and hopeless misery will strike elder and child and dame alike. Forth with that peerless chief we came, whose mighty heart is aye the same. How, reft of him we love, shall we returning dare that town to see? Complaining thus with varied cry, they tossed their aged arms on high, and their sad hearts with grief were wrung, like cows who sorrow for their young. A while they followed on the road which traces of his chariot showed, but when at length those traces failed, a deep despair their hearts assailed. The chariot marks no more discerned, the hopeless sages backward turned. Ah, what is this? What can we more? Fate stops the way, and all is o'er. With wearied hearts, in grief and shame, they took the road by which they came, and reached Ayodhya's city, where from side to side was naught but care. With troubled spirits quite cast down they looked upon the royal town, and from their eyes, oppressed with woe, their tears again began to flow. Of Rama reft, the city wore no look of beauty as before, like a dull river or a lake by G.A.R.U.10D, robbed of every snake. Dark, dismal as the moonless sky, or as a sea whose bed is dry, so sad, to every pleasure dead, they saw the town disquieted. On to their houses, high and vast, where stores of precious wealth were massed, the melancholy Brahmins passed, their hearts with anguish cleft, aloof from all, they came not near to stranger or to kinsman dear, showing in faces blank and drear that not one joy was left.